everyone, welcome to my channel, or welcome back. So the holidays are rolling around, and what might that have to do with birth? Sometimes we feel pressured during the holidays when our family's visiting, or if people are coming in for our birth, that we need to give birth on a certain day. And we often base family visiting around the times that we have a due date or an estimated due date. So in this video, I want to talk about estimated due dates, and I'm going to do another video on induction. Not only might we consider our due dates due to family visiting, but also maybe due to being overdue. So in this video, I'm going to read an article from Evidence-Based Birth, which is a good, credible source for those of you who want to learn more about your due date or estimated due date. This video will be in two parts as the articles get rather long and there's a lot of information to provide on due dates and induction. So let's get right into it. Estimated due date, the due date, or a guess date. That choice is up to you. According to Evidence-Based Birth, inductions for non-medical reasons have been on the rise in the United States. Increasingly, more pregnant people are being induced because they have reached their estimated due date of 40 weeks. According to the 2013 Listening to Mothers 3 survey, more than 4 out of 10 mothers, 41%, the researchers asked mothers to select reasons that they were induced. Out of everyone who was induced, 44% said they were induced because their baby was full term and it was close to the due date. Another 18% said they were induced because the healthcare provider was concerned that the mother was overdue. The site that this is from is credited in the Evidence-Based Birth article. Now, sometimes there is the option to induce early, and this could be for medical or non-medical reasons. And we will get further into that as I continue to read, because again, there's a lot of information provided. Is being full term a reason to induce? If you didn't know, being full term is considered being anywhere from 37 weeks pregnant and up. Anything below 37 weeks, so yes, 36 weeks, is considered preterm. Something else from Evidence-Based Birth suggests, although overall risk was still very low, if they are born before 39 weeks or after 41 weeks, the chance of a newborn having problems is lowest if he or she is born between 39 weeks and 0 days and 40 weeks and 6 days. In 2012, a group of experts came together to define the term pregnancy. Based on their review of the research evidence, they broke the 5-week term period into separate groups. So early term, again, is 37 weeks back. Early term babies are between 37 weeks, 0 days, and 38 weeks and 6 days, so that's still kind of early. Full term babies are born between 39 weeks and 0 days and 40 weeks and 6 days, so that is considered full term. Late term babies are between 41 weeks, 0 days, and 41 weeks and 6 days, and post term babies are born at 42 weeks and 0 days or later. To determine the estimated due date, most if not all providers go by something called Naegele's rule. Naegele's rule assumes that you had a 28-day menstrual cycle and that you ovulated exactly on the 14th day of your cycle. Note, some healthcare providers will adjust your due date for longer or shorter menstrual cycles. That means that some months are shorter than others. Like the month of February has 28 days as opposed to some months like October, which have 31. To calculate your estimated due date, according to Naegele's rule, you add 7 days to the first day of your last period and then count forward 9 months or count backwards 3 months. This is equal to counting forward 280 days from the date of your last period. Counting from 40 weeks from my last period, which is also suggested in this article. Let's weigh out our options. LMP versus ultrasounds. Now, LMP means last menstrual period. And now we know that we have ultrasounds to help us determine how far along we are and when our due date might be. So what is the evidence on that? Ultrasounds are pretty common nowadays, and they have been. Ultrasounds came about in the 1970s. A large body of evidence shows that ultrasounds done in early pregnancy are more accurate using LMP to date pregnancy. In a 2012 Cochrane review, researchers combined the results from 7 randomized clinical trials that compared routine early ultrasound to a policy of not routinely offering ultrasound. Researchers found that people who had an early ultrasound to date the pregnancy were less likely to be induced for a post-term pregnancy. Something interesting about the accuracy of ultrasounds later in pregnancy includes ultrasounds in the 3rd trimester are less accurate than earlier ultrasounds Ultrasounds in the third trimester are not as accurate because they are measuring the size of the baby and comparing him or her to a standard sized baby. All babies are about the same size early in pregnancy, but if your baby will be larger than average, it will be perceived as closer to done. When the ultrasound is done and your due date will be moved up incorrectly. In other words, it could be more accurate to have an ultrasound done in the earlier weeks of your pregnancy versus an ultrasound to determine when your baby will be born later on in pregnancy, if that makes sense. Studies show that estimated due dates should be closer to 40 weeks and 5 days. Interestingly enough, I gave birth to both of my babies at the date of 40 weeks and 3 days. This was my first child and my second, and I was not induced. This labor started on its own. Researchers also found that 10% gave birth by 38 weeks and 5 days later after the LMP. 25% gave birth by 39 weeks and 5 days after LMP. 50% gave birth by 40 weeks and 5 days after LMP. 75% gave birth by 41 weeks and 2 days after LMP. And 90% gave birth by 44 weeks and 0 days after the LMP. Based on this evidence, there is no such thing as an exact due date, and the estimated due date of 40 weeks is not accurate. Instead, it would be more appropriate to say that there is a normal range of time in which most people give birth. About half of all pregnant people will go into labor on their own by 40 weeks and 5 days for first-time mothers, or 40 weeks and 3 days, for mothers who have given birth before. The other half will not. In this evidence-based birth article, there is so much more information, and this includes, but is not limited to, and so much more. I want to help you make an informed and educated decision on your birth preferences, see what options and choices that you have. Birth is personal, and so are your own preferences. Preferences can change for medical or non-medical reasons. What matters is that you feel comfortable with your birth. In my next video, I'll discuss more about the medical reasons, your options, and more. Drop a comment below. When was your estimated due date? What is your estimated due date? What do you think of all this information? Was it helpful? Was it not? Let me know how I'm doing in the comments. Subscribe if you'd like, and I'll see you next time.